The United States is often described as the land of freedom, a nation founded on the idea that all people are born equal, with a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But behind this powerful promise lies a long, complex, and sometimes painful human rights journey. This is not a story of perfection. It is a story of progress, resistance, conflict, and voices that refuse to be silent. The founding promise. In 1776, the Declaration of Independence declared that all men are created equal. At the time, this bold statement inspired the world. Yet, millions of people were excluded from this promise. Enslaved Africans, Native Americans, women, and the poor had no political rights. Freedom existed in theory, but not in reality for many. From the very beginning, America's human rights story was divided between ideals and lived experience. Slavery and the fight for freedom. For nearly 250 years, slavery shaped the United States. Enslaved people were treated as property, denied basic human dignity, and subjected to violence and exploitation. Families were torn apart. Education was forbidden. Resistance was punished. Despite this, enslaved people resisted in countless ways through rebellion, escape, culture, and faith. The Civil War, fought between 1861 and 1865, ended legal slavery. The 13th Amendment abolished it. The 14th promised equal protection. The 15th aimed to protect voting rights. But freedom on paper did not mean freedom in life. Jim Crow and systemic discrimination. After slavery ended, racial segregation took its place. Jim Crow laws enforced separation in schools, housing, transportation, and employment. Black Americans faced voter suppression, lynching, and economic exclusion. Courts often upheld discrimination. Law enforcement frequently protected injustice rather than people. For decades, equality remained out of reach. The Civil Rights Movement. In the 1950s and 1960s, a movement rose that changed America forever. Ordinary people became extraordinary voices. Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. Martin Luther King Jr. called for nonviolent resistance. Students organized sit-ins and freedom rides. Peaceful protests were met with arrests, beatings, and even murder. Yet the movement endured. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlawed segregation. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 protected the right to vote. These were historic victories, won through sacrifice. Women's rights and gender equality. While civil rights advanced, women continued to fight for equality. For much of American history, women could not vote, own property independently, or access higher education. In 1920, the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote. But equality did not stop there. The women's rights movement pushed for fair pay, workplace protections, reproductive rights, and legal recognition. Today, women have made significant gains. Yet gender pay gaps, workplace discrimination, and access to health care remain ongoing issues. Native American rights. Native Americans experienced some of the most severe human rights violations in U.S. history. Land was taken through broken treaties. Communities were forced onto reservations. Children were sent to boarding schools where their languages and cultures were erased. For generations, Native voices were silenced. In recent decades, tribes have fought for sovereignty, land rights, and cultural preservation. While progress has been made, many Native communities still face poverty, limited health care, and environmental injustice. Immigration and human rights. The United States has long been a nation of immigrants. People arrived seeking safety, opportunity, and freedom. Yet immigration policy has often reflected fear rather than compassion. From the Chinese Exclusion Act to Japanese American internment during World War II, entire communities were targeted. In modern times, debates continue over border security, asylum seekers, and detention conditions. Human rights organizations have raised concerns about family separations, migrant detention centers, and due process. The question remains, how does a nation built by immigrants treat those still seeking refuge? Criminal justice and mass incarceration. The The U.S. has one of the highest incarceration rates in the world. Millions are imprisoned, disproportionately affecting minorities and the poor. Concerns include racial bias in policing, harsh sentencing laws, prison conditions, and the death penalty. Cases of wrongful convictions have revealed deep flaws in the justice system. Human rights advocates argue that true justice must focus on fairness, rehabilitation, and dignity, not just punishment. Freedom of speech and protest. Freedom of speech is a cornerstone of American democracy. Protest has shaped the nation, from civil rights marches to modern social movements. However, protesters have often faced surveillance, arrests, and violence. Balancing national security with civil liberties remains a constant challenge. The right to speak freely is protected, but not always equally experienced. LGBTQ+ rights. For decades, LGBTQ+ Americans lived in fear. Same-sex relationships were criminalized. Discrimination was legal. Visibility meant danger. Through activism and legal battles, progress emerged. Marriage equality became law in 2015. Workplace protections expanded. Yet hate crimes, discrimination, and political backlash continue. Human rights, once gained, must still be defended. Modern challenges. Today, the U.S. continues to face major human rights questions. Police accountability, voting access, digital privacy, economic inequality, healthcare as a right or privilege. Technology has created new freedoms and new forms of control. Social media amplifies voices, but also misinformation. Surveillance protects security, but threatens privacy. The struggle has not ended. It has evolved. America and global human rights. Internationally, the U.S. presents itself as a defender of human rights. Yet critics point to contradictions between foreign policy and domestic realities. Human rights credibility depends not only on words, but actions at home. The world watches. Conclusion: an unfinished story. Human rights in the United States are not a fixed achievement. They are a continuous process. Progress has been real. So have its setbacks. Every right enjoyed today was once demanded by someone who refused to stay silent. The American human rights story is not about perfection. It is about struggle, accountability, and the belief that change is possible. And that story is still being written.